Ramadan shared iftar. And before we get things rolling with our speakers, I'm going to ask our president, Emre Çelik, to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming this fine Ramadan evening. Many of you know what we do and what we stand for. One of our core values is dialogue, is really about bringing people together. We're very fortunate. Ramadan is a means for doing that. There are other avenues throughout the year, but we take advantage of what Ramadan means for us. Of course, more than the very personal aspect to what Ramadan is, there's a very spiritual, empathetic aspect, an aspect of sacrifice and what have you. The communal aspect to Ramadan is what we try and espouse, of course, and that is really about breaking bread together. So I thank you for partaking in this evening. I might add, we're very fortunate that we've organised more than 40 such gatherings this year. Of course, there's only 30 nights in Ramadan, so I'll leave you to think of how we did that. One thing I do want to mention, and there's a little flyer in front of you about our little program for Syrian refugees. I had the pleasure of visiting Turkey, as I have on numerous occasions, this year as well. And of the 3 or 4 trips I did, 1 or 2 of them included a side trip to Kilis, which is a border town in Turkey, border to Syria, of course. So we had the great opportunity to meet with refugees that aren't in the government camps. So it was quite difficult for all of us. But what was born out of that visit, and really it was a dialogue, that dialogue we had with each and every one of the refugees we met, living in quite adverse conditions, was this campaign organised with the help of our friends from that trip. So if you're able to contribute somehow, it would be appreciated. It's via rally.org, which is an organisation that supports such campaigns. But at the very least, I would recommend you visit the site and in particular watch the videos, our interviews with those refugees. So again, welcome on behalf of the Rumi Forum. I look forward to continuing our dialogue beyond this evening, and I thank you wholeheartedly. So thank you very much.
Bruce Hill of the Washington Times to come up and say a few words.
Well, I thank you for asking me. I have many things that I could say from having taken 2 trips with the Rumi Forum to Turkey and learned quite a bit about the Turkish culture and about the Rumi, the Sufi version of the Islamic religion. And I really highly recommend, if any of you have not done one of these trips, to do that. It's a wonderful education. And Rumi's work here in Washington may be even more important because they have come to a city that's very, very discordant and divided at this point in time, and I think they're bringing with them the principles of peaceful dialogue, which I think, Washington's not really particularly known for peaceful dialogue, but I think in the past we had a lot more dialogue in this city and a lot more efforts to live harmoniously with those who we disagree with at times and at least try to understand them. So these are the principles that Rumi brings and is trying to bring to Washington. And they have such a far reach. Rumi seems to, Emre himself seems to know just about everyone that I know and has met everyone in Washington. So he has a tremendously long reach and is engaging people here in Washington to learn more about the ways of Turkey, the ways of the Islamic religion, and the way people think in those areas. And I think that's something that we here in Washington need to learn a whole lot more about and could stand to learn more about. So I suspect most of you all, I'm preaching to the choir, suspect most of you all have engaged in Rumi's debates and forums and have already participated, but I'm highly recommending what they do because it really seems to be needed at this point in time in the city that we live here in Washington. So thank you for asking me to speak. I also write on economic issues, so anyone here who knows about economic issues in Turkey and the Middle East and those things, I'd welcome have a chance to meet you and discuss things, and perhaps I can learn some more on that lines as well. Okay, thank you.
I would like to now ask Farooq Mita. He is Special Assistant, Office of Small Business Programs at DoD. He will say a few words.
Good evening. I'll be brief because I know people are fasting that want to eat, but I want to just say a couple of things. One is, I want to thank the Rumi Forum for putting this together, and I want to echo Emre's comments. I mean, this Ramadan is a time of deep spiritual reflection for Muslims across the world, and now, for those of you who don't know, we're now in the last 10 days of Ramadan, which are really the most important days for most Muslims, and days where there's deep spiritual reflection and spending a lot of time in prayer in the evenings and continuing with the fast. But there's that community aspect of Ramadan, and I've got to give it to the Rumi Forum for putting together 45 iftar dinners in 1 month. I tried to put it on about 10 in Florida across the state, and it was a lot. So I can't even imagine doing 45. But it really gives us an opportunity as a community to share our traditions and our values with our friends in Washington, D.C., and really share that cultural aspect of the faith of Ramadan and what it means to break fast, and sharing and breaking bread is extremely important. And I just want to kind of wrap by talking about my experience in Turkey last November going with the Rumi Forum. It was a great experience, and Emre asked me what was the one thing that stood out, and I really couldn't point to one thing. We had a great host, and Mehmet, who's not here with us tonight, but he was a great host, and just the level of conversation that we had with the folks that we met there, the level of access that we had, and the level of pull that the folks at the Rumi Forum had. And I said to Mehmet, I was like, hey, we're going to see the whirling dervishes. And he said, hey, next hour we were there, we were seeing it. We wanted to go meet some elected officials in Turkey. We were there, we did it. Some of us really wanted to go to the Syrian border to Kilis, and we were there. We literally went 3 kilometers from the Syrian border and had the opportunity to meet with some of the Syrian refugees that Emre talked about. And just the one thing, I will answer his question as to the one thing that stood out to me was our interaction with the Syrian community in Turkey, but more so the Turkish citizens' brotherhood that they feel with the Syrians that are there right now. And the population of Turkey went up by well over 1 million over the last few years, and every time I talked to somebody who was Turkish about the presence of Syrians in Turkey, everybody said that these are our brothers and we're not going to turn our backs on them, despite the fact that it's draining our resources and our school systems and food and you name it. It's a big strain on the country. But I didn't meet one Turkish citizen who was resentful of that. In fact, they were willing to give more and more and more until those Syrians were able to go back to their home countries and live in peace, hopefully sometime in the future. So that was actually, as I think about it, the one thing that stood out to me and the one thing I really appreciate the most about Turkey and its people. Hope everybody has a good evening, and thanks for taking the time to be here.